Good afternoon, one and all. Welcome to our podcast, The Absolute Truth. My name is Greg. I'm here with Christina, and we're again excited to visit and share with you. Okay, before we get into our Did You Know segment, I want to issue a red alert. We're going to be doing a local Save America rally over in Trumbull County. That'll be Sunday, July 11th from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. And we want everybody to reach out and have others to attend along with you. We did 3 rallies at the same spot last year. The address, if you want to plug it into your GPS, is 2120 Elm Road. That's in Cortland, Ohio, 44483. You can park on the side of the road right behind Elm Road. If that gets full, you can always park in some extra spots behind Aldi's or Walmart and just walk up. It's not that far. Tell everybody, make sure you guys bring your signs, bring your flags. It's time to charge, folks. Save America. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to jump into our Did You Know segment. Christina?
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I just wanted to let everybody know that if you could please subscribe so you will get alerted and a notification for each and every one of our podcasts. Really would appreciate it. So now I'm going to jump into my Did You Knows. And the first Did You Know is, did you know that Ohio approved critical race theory? Ridiculous. Parents, be relentless. Don't stop fighting. Get to those board meetings and fight for your kids so that they do not have to be told that they are white privilege and that they were born a racist child and that they are not measuring up to other students. So make sure that you get in there and fight for your kids so that they're not taught these crazy, ridiculous teachings. Also, did you know Gwen Berry, the protest at the Olympics, I don't know if any of you saw that, but she turned her back on the flag during the national anthem and refused to participate. Unacceptable. That's a total disgrace and embarrassment to our country. If you are so oppressed by our great country, go elsewhere where you will experience true oppression. I'm tired of the hatred for this country. If you hate this country, leave. Bye-bye. Greg?
Okay. Did you know from Fox, shootings in major cities so far this year, Portland, it's up 126%. New York City, up 64%. Los Angeles, up 51%. Atlanta, up 40%. Philadelphia, up 26%. Those are the stats that they shared. I'm sure there's many more we can get into, but think about this. What do all those cities have in common? There's probably quite a few things, but the main thing I think about, who's leading the overall city there? Who's the mayor? Are they Republican or are they Democrat? What do you guys think? Absolutely, they're Democrat. Christina?
So I saw an article from Daily Wire that suggests that Kamala Harris apparently runs an abusive office. So according to Daily Wire, what some of her associates have said was, the morale is low, the staff concerns and ideas are ignored, and aides are often surprised with hastily made decisions like Harris' recent visit to El Paso, Texas, where, must I remind you, that is not where the border crisis is. She was literally on the wrong side of the border, and it was all for photo ops that had nothing to do with going there to actually make a difference. Trump actually went to the proper place because he is out to make a difference and to make America great again. She's just out for personal gains and political stunts. The morale of the vice president's team is apparently sagging, and the office has to handle several high-level departures less than 6 months into the term. The vice president's plans are often only known to her and a close group of her staff and advisors, and senior members of the office often do not even communicate important details down to the chain or shift blame when something goes wrong. According to 22 former staff members and administration officials, associates of the vice president interviewed by Politico, people are thrown under the bus from the top. There are short-fused, and it's an abusive environment, said one person with direct knowledge of how the vice president's office is run. It's not a healthy environment, and people often feel mistreated. It's not a place where people feel supported, but a place where people feel like they're treated like crap. The state of Harris's office has allegedly caught the eye of President, take that back, Biden, raising concerns of his team, as Politico reported. So as we see her evil little laugh, we can all just imagine how undelightful she is to work for. Also, I don't know if any of you have heard this, but did you know that we actually have a NFL player? His name is Cole Beasley, and he
Buffalo
is a wide
Bills.
Yeah, he's a wide receiver, and he refuses the vaccine and wants to represent other silent players. If I'm forced into retirement, so be it. So I like seeing these different people that are in the limelight that are able to stand their ground and not give in to peer pressure and do what they feel is best for them. Greg?
Stand on truth. Okay, did you know, this is June 28th of this year. This is by Jenny Goldsberry. 2 GOP lawmakers bash Trump. They say election fraud is not real, and they call him a loser president. What the what? Both Senator Mitt Romney, Republican of Utah, and Republican Adam Kinzinger of Illinois had this to say. This rally in Ohio reminded him of the World Wrestling Federation. I'm going to give you a quote that Mitt had. He said, "This is like WWF, that it's entertaining, but it's not real." Romney said Trump's allegations haven't come from any reputable sources. Quote, "Did Trump hear it from the intelligence community?" "No," Romney said. Quote, "So where did he hear it from? The My Pillow guy, Rudy Giuliani?" Then Adam Kinzinger, the Republican from Illinois, he says that the Saturday festivities, a rally for a loser president. Quote, "I mean, he's the first president to lose re-election in decades, and I don't know why these folks would go there and in essence ogle at and in many cases just short of worship a loser, but they did. People of Utah, don't you dare support this Mitt Romney ever again. It does not matter who says, okay, there was corruption. You go by the facts. I don't care who brings up the facts. Just look at the facts, substantiate them, and you'll see it. Utah residents, please find a candidate who truly represents we the people and get him or her elected over the joke of a senator, Mitt Romney. And the people of Illinois, replace Adam Kinzinger, calling Trump a loser and cutting on him and many of his supporters. He is no we the people candidate. And these two guys have another thing coming. Christina?
So did you know that Tucker Carlson says that NSA and Biden administration is spying on him and going to try to take the show off the air? In this week's podcast, we are addressing the corruption in America, and this is a perfect example of that. If you are not saying what they, the left and the elite, want you to say, and you're actually getting the truth out there, they are going to shut you down any way they can. Also, did you know that Facebook, I just found out they have, I don't know if any of you have seen this on Facebook, but somebody brought it to my attention, that they're flagging different people and putting on their Facebook, like they used to do with the COVID vaccine thing. Now it's, are you concerned that someone you know is becoming an extremist? We care about preventing extremists on Facebook. Others in your situation have received confidential support. Confidential support? What, because somebody has a different view than you? That is not called being an extremist. That's called doing your research and having a different point of view than Facebook. And at last I knew, we still have our First Amendment. We're permitted to do that. Greg?
Okay, did you know, this is by Megan Basham of the Daily Wire, July 2nd, just yesterday of this year. Kirstie Alley, remember her from Cheers, the actress? She warns modern entertainment has U.S. on the road to pedophilia acceptance. She says, quote, "Was watching TV on Friday, and she said, we've gone too far in my opinion. I feel sorry for our children. Their exposure to everything perverse on every kind of screen is mind-boggling. And even more tragic, it's being hyped as normal. There's so many subtleties in all the different shows that are out there on mainstream media to influence and basically control our kids and our adults to basically their cause and an acceptance of no morals." Christina?
So Bill Gates to the rescue again. He's spending $1.7 billion to fix the U.S. education system.
That's what he says fix, huh?
That is, if fixing means destroy like he did everything else that he puts his hands on. So no thanks, Bill Gates. We'll take a pass on that one. Also, did you guys know that math suffers from white supremacy? Yep, math. They put forth a equitable math. What is equitable math? You can go to equitablemath.org, and it is an organization that describes the problem as being a white supremacy culture that shows up in math classrooms. When the focus is on getting the right answer, that is the problem. It is now white supremacist idea to get right answers in classrooms. So they're going to fix that. No need to give the right answer. Let's dumb down America. As long as we're trying our best, we all get an A. What? Now it's white supremacy if you do not know an answer and everybody's going to get an A as long as they're trying? That is definitely dumbing down America. And we'll get to why we think they're doing that later. Greg?
Christina, did you tell me, is that maybe in a different did you know about a statistic of how we rank as a country?
Yeah, I'm going to get into that later.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. My next did you know is by Just the News, Nicholas Sherman, just yesterday, July 2nd. He says here in his article, Biden's White House payroll is projected to be the most expensive in U.S. history, expected to exceed $200 million according to Forbes. Trump spent $164.3 million over 4 years, while Obama spent $188.5 million during his first term. Christina?
Did you know Pen Psaki blames Republicans for defunding the police in her press conference? As my memory recalls, a lot of the Democratic figures that were actually calling to defund the police, it absolutely was not the Republicans. The Republicans have much more common sense than that, and we know that the police are what we need to keep our country safe and keep our streets safe and keep our homes safe. And then on top of that, then they want to take our guns away. So they want to defund the police, take our guns away, and then how do we defend ourselves? Give me a break. Republicans are a little smarter than that. Sorry. Also, did you know the Smallville star Allison Mack, which I know nothing about these shows. I watch very little TV. There's nothing, in my opinion, worth watching on TV. It's all garbage and brainwashing and indoctrinating, and I don't need that garbage going into my head. So anyways, I don't know much about it, but from my understanding, she got a sentence to 3 years in prison because she was part of the sex slave cult case. She was assisting in recruiting people for sex slaves. 3 years is all she got. To me, that is disgraceful. She should have a much larger sentence for that.
She'll probably end up getting out early like Bill Cosby did, right?
Which brings you to my next did you know.
Okay.
Did you know that Bill Cosby was released from prison early? The painful reality and reminder to survivors and victims of sexual violence that oftentimes, guess what? They're not going to be held accountable, especially if they're part of the elite. This sends a really poor message to people that want to speak out against this, that are being targeted and sexually abused. Why go through the pain of speaking out if they're just going to release them early and they're not going to get their full sentence? But here's my message. Keep speaking out. Don't let these monsters go untouched. Trust me, it affects them to some degree. It does tarnish their reputation to some degree. So do not stop fighting and talking and telling when things like this happen. Do not let that in any way make you nervous, deterred from wanting to come forward if something like that's happening to you. Greg?
Did you know, according to the Gateway pundit, Christina Leila, July 1st, she reports CNN celebrates Communist Party's 100th anniversary, and they gush over Xi Jinping. They go on about the accomplishments and the strength of China and how China will not be bullied and never underestimate them. And I just want to remind everybody these important points. While China celebrates 100 years under this communist rule, never forget that the 100 years they have of power, there's been a lot of death, genocide, and destruction they have shown. Look what they did to our country, right, with this virus. Along with stealing and spying on their adversaries, they've stolen our technology. They've had numerous copyright infringements, and we're going to celebrate them. Not only do we see media networks celebrating them, but we see some different athletes in different sports. I think you know what I'm talking about, promoting China. Christina?
Did you know that in Isaiah 5:20, it says the day will come when they will call evil good and call good evil? How many of you think we are there? I think that's pretty much exactly what's going on in this country right now. Greg?
Okay, that leads us into our discussion, our hot topic discussion on corruption. We termed this breaking the law. It's okay. Or is it? What is corruption? Corruption is dishonest behavior by those in positions of power, such as managers or government officials. Corruption can include giving or accepting bribes or inappropriate gifts, double dealing, under-the-table transactions, manipulating elections, diverting funds, laundering money, and defrauding investors. It also includes threats and intimidation like coercion. Where do we find corruption? It seems like it's everywhere. Think about it. We find it in our courts. We have lawyers, judges, law enforcement, bondsmen, our judicial system, right? We find it in politics with senators and representatives of state and federal, even elected officials locally, along with board members of schools and members of agencies and commissions, local, state, and federal again. For example, I looked up some information on the amount of federal agencies and commissions that are out there. There's thousands of them. I just looked at the ones from the letters A through F in the alphabet, and there's 246 of them. That's only 23% of the alphabet, and there's almost 250 agencies and commissions. How about unions? We have all kinds of different unions that are part of corporations or the government, schools. We have corporations, big tech, healthcare system. We see it everywhere. In our military, remember all the generals that were kind of talking smack about Trump on some of those fake news channels? We see it in our schools and universities. Think about in the news when we heard about the bribes to get the elite kids, right, into prestigious colleges. These universities also have billion-dollar trust funds, a lot of them, and yet college costs continue to go up. And then also think about the amount of people that they hire over in the universities. 95% of professors are liberal. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go into some of the areas more specific that we find it so we can go ahead and take some actions to combat it. Christina?
So as I'm sure most of the listeners, the reason you're listening is because you're looking for the truth. And who does not give us the truth? It's the media. And the media really sets the standard for what goes in a lot of people's minds. A lot of the elderly, they're just used to turning on the TV and they're used to getting the truth and the facts. But unfortunately, those days are long gone. Now they get what the government and the elite want them to hear. And it's most often not the facts. So the lies are promoted as truth, and New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, and all the other mainstream medias, they have two jobs according to the elites. Number one, protect Democrats, especially Joe Biden, at all cost. Number two, stalk, harass, smear Donald Trump and his family and anybody who supports him. Journalists are not journalists today. They give one opinion, theirs, and what they are told to say. And they fail to report on the opposing side, which in most cases today is the truth. So there is no longer two views regarding the news. That is not journalism. That is brainwashing and manipulating. Keep repeating the same lies over and over. And according to the Journal of Psychology, I saw a really interesting article, and it says, the illusion truth effect has been flying around the world of psychology since 1977. But recently, more and more evidence has arrived to back it up. The truth effect is the idea that if you repeat something often enough, people will slowly start believing it's true. Sounds about right, considering all the times we blindly trusted an old wives' tale or a much retweeted fake news. But a new study has revealed that the truth effect is much stronger than we imagined, because it turns out that even a person that has prior knowledge disproving a lie they are being told, they're still going to believe the lie if it's reported long enough. And that's the second time I've heard that. I heard another psychiatrist say that a lie will be denounced as a lie if people still believe the lie. It is etched into their minds, and they will refuse to believe the truth. Even if the truth presents itself, they will still believe the lie. So journalism is dead in America. Honesty and truth is non-existent in today's news. I'm going to give you like 5 examples of what kind of lies that they continuously perpetrate on the American people. Number 1, do you remember the Russian hoax? Debunked. Number 2, treatment of Biden versus Trump. No matter what Biden does, he never gets criticized. And everything Trump does or did, he gets criticized. And Trump did so many things, and he kept all of his promises, and he got criticized for everything. He got blamed for everything. Number 3, Hunter's laptop scandal. Disappeared. You heard of it one day, disappeared the next day. There was no investigation on that, and there should have been a deep investigation. If that would have been one of Trump's kids, it would still be in the news, circling nonstop, and they had probably already been in prison for it. The Muslim ban that they said that Trump had put on Muslims, which was debunked. The mantra that 2017 tax cuts were only for the rich, despite studies showing that 80% of the population benefited from that. Number 5, you remember when AOC was so outraged about the cages at the border, and Trump was such an evil person for that. But guess what? That even vanished when it was revealed that the Obama administration built the cages for them. Number 6, Ukraine impeachment of Trump. And we could go on and on for days. That's just the lies from the media never end. And here is a staggering fact. U.S. ranks last among 46 countries in trusting the media, according to Reuters report. Because of the media mob, American patriots have been awakened over the last year and realized that we have been lied to about so many things, and we've had enough. We now do our own research, and we are our own reliable news outlets. For me, I don't know about you, but when COVID came along, something did not feel right inside of me, and I could feel that something was seriously wrong. And I, like many other Americans, began diligently researching. And as Trump was aware of the corruption in the swamp prior to becoming president, I think it was way deeper and darker than he ever imagined. And I felt the same exact shock. And my eyes were opened, along with many friends and families, when I was awakened to some of the things and the deep evil that was taking place in our America. I always knew there was some degree of corruption, but I was so unaware of the depth of it and the pure evil that was happening right on our own soil. And I wanted to say a Walt Whitman, I wanted to quote one of his quotes that was very good. Resist much, obey little, one unquestioning obedience. Once fully enslaved, no nation, state, city of this earth ever afterward resumes its liberty. Greg?
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about corruption we find in our court systems. You don't think so? Oh, absolutely. There's rogue prosecutors, there's activist judges. There's gang members right now that have been arrested for shooting people, and they're getting probation. We have gang members with 8 felony charges getting bonds. They're out of jail. Just in an area in Texas in the latter part of 2020 into this year, 2021, an organization called Crime Stoppers in Texas reports that 121 people were killed by criminals that were let go that had multiple felony charges and bonds that they kept being let go over and over. These rogue prosecutors and activist judges are more abundant in the areas run by the Democratic mayors. Did you know that the 10 most violent cities in the U.S. are under the leadership of Democratic mayors? Do you think that these people who voted for them know this? Maybe they do. Maybe they didn't vote for them. And maybe the corruption had to do with how the votes were counted, right? But bottom line is, in all these cities, you see a Democrat in charge and leading. Christina?
I'm going to quickly talk a little bit about the corruption in American education. As we all know, the big thing happening right now in our schools is the critical race theory, which absolutely needs to be demolished immediately because it is not in any way helping our kids. It's actually causing more harm than it is good. I feel like the reason that they are really trying to get rid of a lot of the history of our country, they're removing a lot of that. And I think they're trying to dumb down America. And we ask ourselves, why would they want to dumb down America? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, because they want to control us. They want to manipulate us. And what a better way to control people is if you start getting in and indoctrinating these kids at 5 years old and start putting into their little minds what you think they should know and what you think that you want them to believe. So, Greg, why would you think they want to dumb down America?
I think it all comes back to trying to complete the agenda they have in store for America. And that's basically letting us be part of a world reset where we're just part of the world. We're not set up on that hill, right? Like we've been for numerous years leading the world by example. And I think that ultimately you're going to see the elite and everybody else. And that's going to be communism everywhere. There'll be no free country anymore.
So as I did my research a little bit, I was really taken back by an article, and then I started watching a video about our school systems. And I've never really thought this deeply into it, but it really raised awareness to me, and I think it'll raise a little awareness to you. But what are we always told when we start going to school? Do well in school, then get accepted into the best college, and then get your dream job. And a dream job equals a dream life. School prepares kids for college. They are taught no college, no success. No high school in America teaches kids about how to invent products, start their own business, how to use the internet for resources to educate themselves about things without attending college. They don't learn anything about finances when they are in high school, which is a huge part of setting yourself up for failure or for success. The average cost for college, $27,000 a year. The textbooks are up to $200 each a book. They tripled, and they are not able to be resold any longer. They used to have a resale value. I remember even when my kids were in school and college not long ago, they were able to buy used books. Well, then as my daughter was getting through her last year or two, she told me that you're not allowed to get used books because what they do is they put new information in the books every single year. So your kids are forced to buy every year $200 books for their classes. And according to my daughter, she rarely even used the books. So college is interested in lining their pockets, not helping our students. It's pretty ridiculous when our kids graduate from college. If they're paying $25,000 at a minimum, which the low end is $27,000, when they get out of college, they're in debt $100,000 already. So they're literally setting them up to be in debt and to have to live from loan to loan and never ever have financial freedom. And it's really sad. I'm not against education. Obviously, we need to be educating our kids. But the way that they're being taught, they're being taught things to pass tests, according to our guest Bob, that was a teacher for over 30 years. They are being taught to pass tests. They're not being taught things that really matter in real life and in the real world, and that needs to change. And certainly, the critical race theory has to be eliminated as well. But I wanted to read something from Bruce Levin, and he said, "To be passive, to be directed by others, to take seriously the rewards and punishments of authority, to pretend to care about things that they do not care about, and that one is important to change one's dissatisfying situation." So basically, that's what the school system is teaching our kids. Greg?
Okay, I'm going to get into some information about the border. Biden administration is aiding and abetting human trafficking. Drugs are pouring into our country, along with cartel members, gang members, and criminals. Remember the stat from the Daily Wire, Ryan Saavedra, in June. He said that the Biden border crisis sinks to the worst level in DHS history, explodes 674% over last year. In May of this year, the CBP apprehended 180,000 persons at the southwest border, whereas in May of 2020, under Trump, there was only 23,000 that they apprehended. We're under an invasion, folks. These are only the people that were caught. Millions of new people that will be in our country. Several Texas sheriffs and the Federal Police Foundation are suing the Biden administration for unlawful and unconstitutional policies relating to removing illegal immigrants from the country. Basically, they've been limited to removing these illegal immigrants that have been residing in the U.S. In fiscal 2020, ICE removed 186,000 individuals, and think about this, 92% of them, 92% of the 186,000 already had criminal convictions or were pending criminal charges. We're going to have, like I said, millions more like this, and this Biden administration is restraining ICE from removing them once they find them. According to the Daily Caller, July 1st, Border Patrol's fentanyl seizures increased by 4,000% from 2018. June 30th of this year, Charlotte Cuthbertson reports from the Epoch Times, fewer smugglers are detained as small border counties run out of jail space. Law enforcement authorities are releasing human smugglers with a citation rather than arresting them. So there's no room to put them. That's how many they're getting. Just the end of June here, by Mimi Yenli of the Epoch Times, South Dakota and Iowa are sending law enforcement officers to the southern border to help out. And also Ohio, we are sending 185 of our National Guard members to the southwest border. So in order to, you think about help out, we have to have our states volunteering, our police and our National Guard to go help out an administration that can't do the job, because that's all part of their plan of what they want to do to ruin America. Christina?
So I wanted to also talk about how we know that big tech is censoring us, and they're as corrupt as any other organization. One of the big ones that I heard a really great speaker the other day when I was traveling, and I wish I would have known his name and I would have been able to get more great information that he was giving. But he basically was saying that Google literally censors everything, and they are told what to put on and what not to put on their sites that we are able to search. So the way he described it, which I thought was good, is basically we're little children and the government's our parent, and they are going to decide what we need and that we're capable of hearing. And if they don't think that we need to know about something, or we don't need to decide for ourselves what to believe, they're going to go ahead and decide that for us by censoring the information that gets out there on Google. And Google is searched by billions of people every day. And so you're not getting the truth, though, because they're being censored. And it's not just an opinion, that's a fact. And so here's some of the censoring that happens at Google. And I would recommend switching from Google to DuckDuckGo DuckDuckGo has also been doing a little bit of censoring now too, I've noticed, but it is better than Google. But Google is the foremost search engine in the world. It is so important that many consider it the gateway to the internet. Unfortunately, Google uses its dominant position to determine what we and workers can see, say, do, and publish. Before we go into the details, though, we need to understand that Google is not always acting on its own. Sometimes it's just another puppet on the string of a more powerful group we call the government. It forces websites to edit or delete their comments. Google AdSense is the largest networks on the internet. It is also one of the most censored. Google forces partners' websites to censor their content to its taste. By censor, we mean forces them to edit or delete anything that they do not like. Website owners have only one choice, and that's you either comply if you want to remain on the network. Google said it only tells website owners to remove content that are not, in their opinion, family-friendly. However, website owners have pointed out that the meaning of family-friendly is at the discretion of Google. Website owners only receive emails asking them to remove ads from certain content for violating Google terms and conditions. They're a major force in the Chinese search engine market. Until it exited the country in 2010, Google said it left because it could not cope with China's censorship laws. It appears, however, that Google had a change of heart, though, in the last few years. In 2017, The Intercept revealed Google was planning to return to China and was willingly going to obey Chinese government this time. It was developing a search engine that censored results on democracy, human rights, religion, and protest. Google called the search engines Dragonfly. Many governments, including those of so-called free world, often direct Google to censor certain contents on Blogger, Search, and YouTube. Governments, political parties, and billionaires, they tell Google to remove content for a variety of reasons. Defamation, privacy, hate speech, which hate speech is, at their discretion, is pretty much anything that has to do with being a conservative and being a Trump supporter. You're considered relaying hate speech. National security and copyright infringements are some well-grounded reasons we know. Winning elections and swaying public opinion in political matters is another that is most definitely not well-grounded. There are so many illogical reasons a government will ask Google to remove something from the internet, government, and ask Google to remove anything they find offensive if it does not break any law. The government just needs to hate it. So even if it doesn't break a law and the government doesn't like it, they demand Google to remove it, and guess what? They remove it. Pretty ridiculous. Also, it ended the weekly TGIF meetings. I guess in 2019, the CEO canceled the weekly Thank God It's Friday meetings. Going forward, the meeting will hold once a month and discussions restricted to Google business only, because the people were actually complaining about Google censorship, close relationships with the U.S. government, sexual harassment, and so on. So they decided to just do away with the meetings weekly and do them once a month so they could censor that as well. It stopped the Swedish government from adding a word to its language. In 2019, it removed hundreds of Donald Trump's ads for absolutely no reason. It took down over 300 of Trump's re-election ads. Actually, it said it took the ads down for breaching company policy. YouTube refused to provide more information about how the ads breached company policy or what company policy is breached. It, however, denied removing the ads for potential reasons. They said they were unapproved. It also punished employees for protesting against sexual harassment. In November 2018, 20,000 employees and contractors walked out of Google's office in 50 cities across the world. They were protesting several issues, including workers' rights, sexual harassment, and Google's poor treatment of contractors. The protest was a success. Google made some changes to appease the protesters and praised Claire Stapleton and 6 others for their role in the protest, but that was just on the surface. Underground, it declared war on Stapleton and other protest leaders. Stapleton left Google the following year. She said her career took a downward turn after the protest, and she was shunned and put her under so much stress that she had to resign. Do what they say or else, right?
Yep.
It is a blacklisted, inoffensive, instant search result. Until a few years ago, Google had an instant search feature which showed you real-time search results as you entered your search term into the search bar. Users soon noticed the feature stopped working when they typed certain words. They later discovered the feature tripped up because Google had censored those words. It banned employees from discussing politics at work, and it blacklisted an entire subdomain. Google censored any website it suspects of spamming its users. However, it once took things to an extreme when it blocked every website under the .co or .cc subdomain. The subdomain had over 11 million websites, making it one of the largest in the world. So yeah, Google is not good. It's part of the elite. It's not going to give you the facts. So if you're looking for the facts, it used to be, oh yeah, we can look for Google for this and that, which is fine for if you're looking for cooking things or different things like that. But if you're looking for the truth behind politics or child sex trafficking or things that really matter, Google is not going to give you the facts because they're corrupt. Google is corrupt. Greg?
Okay, we're going to expand a little bit on this subject, hot topic subject next week. We want to talk a little bit about how do we fix it? What's something that you think could be good for us to do to try to fix things, Christina?
Well, one of the things I think we have to do is we have to stop letting them divide us by race, gender, class, party. We need to unite as Americans and defeat the absurdity being presented to us daily. We can and will conquer the evil standing strong together, but it's going to take us all standing up and fighting this together. Also, we cannot let the government manipulate us with fear and lies, and that's a way that the corruption gets in is because they feed us lies, and then that's how they control us and manipulate us. And we got to remember that God is our protector and provider, not the government. The government is not supposed to do anything. They're not our leaders. They're our representations. And they've lost that fact. And they think that they're trying to become our God. And they will never be our God. Greg?
Exactly. And that's one of the things I wanted to mention is we need to bring God on the scene. We need to pray and specifically ask him to go about getting things fixed for our nation. We need to shine light on it. We need to stand on truth, expose people that are involved in the corruption. An example, Judge Jeanine, a lot of you heard of her. She has a show on Fox. On her program, she exposes a judge. The judge's name is Hillary Erger. She's the 248th District Court judge in Houston, Texas. And she is one that has been responsible for letting what we'd referenced before, these people who've been charged with multiple criminal charges, and they're just let go over and over, ended up murdering somebody. So let's get our hands on court cases. Let's expose these activist judges, the rogue prosecuting attorneys. Let's use social media, word of mouth, new mainstream media, posters, billboards, text messages, letters. Spread the word, right? Shout it from the rooftop. An example of what we could do locally, I'm sure this can be done in all counties. Mahoning County Courthouse on the second floor on Tuesdays, late in the afternoon, they have a list of all the arraignments. And if you show up around 3 o'clock, ask for a gal by the name of Chrissy, and she'll get you the information, and you can go ahead and take note of some of the different cases of what's happened and when the actual court case is going to happen, so we can track what's being done. Another thing that we can do is demand prosecution and convictions of the guilty parties. And we can send letters, we can email the people responsible, and we can even call them on the phone. But we need the masses to do this, not one or two people. Number 4, we need to gather more knowledge. We need to stay informed. We need to get involved. How do we do that? Read books written by patriots like Sidney Powell. Sign up for a class to learn about our Constitution. We plan to have one here locally coming up soon. Listen to videos, audios of other patriots that are part of the new mainstream media. Spread the word. Do your own research. Christina referred to this before. Some great resources are I call it the Epic. I've heard it called Epoch Times, C-Citizen, Just the News, Sarah Carter, Lindell TV, to name a few. Listen to our podcast and give us some advice and additional information for us to share, and consider being a guest on our podcast. Attend school board meetings and other decision-making meetings. Bring other people with you, other patriots, right? There's confidence and power in the masses. For instance, when is your next school board meeting? Who did you tell about it? Will you be there? Will they be there? We need to partner up with patriotic groups that fight corruption and support it with our time and our money. And these are ones that I'm recommending. They're all part of Sidney Powell. You can go to her website, sydneypowell.com. You can go to defendingtherepublic.org. And you can also go to defendingtherepublicpac.com. These are all intertwined with each other to save America. just wanted to give you a little bit of a flavor for Sidney Powell and what she's doing. I mean, she has a team of lawyers representing people all across the United States, protecting our republic. And here's some information that she shares. Amplify your voice. Help us to restore this republic to the God and the God-given unalienable rights and principles on which it was founded. Join our Defending the Republic PAC. Defending the Republic PAC is dedicated to amplifying the voices of 80 million people or more who voted for freedom in 2020, only to see their sacred votes eradicated by fraud and witness the total institutional failure of each of the three branches of government on which we have long relied to protect our individual freedoms and the rule of law. This PAC will fight for the issues that matter to we the people. Our country must remain free and true to its founding principles. The entire world looks to us for leadership, and there's nowhere else to go if the darkness and evil of communism and fascism overtake us. We will work to expose issues of corruption regardless of political party and promote issues important to maintain our freedoms and restore our republic. I encourage you, I thought about this, if all of us just made it a point to get on that website, sign up for the newsletter so we stay informed, and also donate. We can donate a little bit of money. If all of us gave $10, think about this. I say there's a lot more than 80 million people that voted, okay, for Trump. And we're going to get into this in our next part 2 version of discussing corruption. But if there's 100, let's say there's 100 million people that ultimately voted for Trump. If you times that by 10, that's $1 billion we put in the hands of patriots that represent truly we the people and want to make sure that we have the proper candidates, right, running for office and representing us. So those are some things that we encourage you to be on top of and get involved in. Now we want to wind things down and get into our Bible verse for the week. Christina?
So as we were discussing corruption and all the terrible things that our country is facing currently, 2 Timothy 3 says, "But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power, and having nothing to do with such people." Does that not speak to what we are dealing with in today's society, especially having a form of godliness but denying its power, having nothing to do with such people? Today, if you disagree with somebody, they want nothing to do with you. Even families have been separated because of their political views over this last election. And as I have stated before, I've had my own stepsister literally turn me into authorities because she didn't like the videos that I was posting because I didn't agree with her. So it's not a good time that we're living in. But the good news is we have a God that is good, and he always makes, like the Bible says, for what man made for bad, God made for good. So there's always good and there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And so we're going to go ahead into our prayer. Lord, we thank you so much for this great country, and it's 4th of July tomorrow, and we're so thankful for Independence Day, where we are free to celebrate our country and our freedoms, and we just thank you for protecting us, and we ask you to bring all the corruption in this country to light and let the people that are causing all of this disgrace to go on to be punished, Lord, because we know that the things that are going on are things that does not bring you joy and happiness. And we just pray that you would just give everybody a safe holiday weekend, and that you would just bless this country and look over us and bring the corruption to light. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, next week we're going to continue our discussion on corruption, and we're going to have our special guest that's going to give some insight of her local experiences through the court systems. Appreciate everybody's time, and we look forward to talking to you next time.